In a small African village surrounded by deep forests and flowing rivers, a boy named Amen was born. His father, Okeke, was the strongest hunter in the village, and his mother, Neka, was the best weaver. Everyone expected Amen to grow up and be just like his father, brave, tough, and fearless. But from the start, Amen was different. As a child, he didn't enjoy the same things the other boys did. While they wrestled and learned to hunt, Amen was more interested in stories, music, and watching his mother weave. He often sat alone under the big baobab tree, listening to the wind, feeling like he didn't belong. One day he asked his father, "Why do I have to hunt? Why can't I weave like Mama?" His father laughed and said, "Because you are a boy, Amen. Boys do not weave." But Amen didn't laugh. He just looked at his hands, wondering why they couldn't do what made him happy. As he grew older, things got worse. The other boys made fun of him. "You're too soft," they said. "You'll never be a real man like your father." Amen started to believe them. Maybe something was wrong with him. Maybe he didn't belong in this village at all. One evening, he went to see Baba Madu, the old storyteller. "Why do I feel like I don't fit in?" Amen asked. Baba Madu smiled and said, "Sometimes our minds trick us into believing we are lost, when really we are just searching." Amen didn't understand what that meant, but he hoped one day he would. Then, something happened that changed everything. A traveler from the city came to the village, telling stories of a different world. "In the city, boys don't have to be hunters," he said. "People live however they want." Amen's heart pounded. Could this be true? Was there a place where he could be himself? That night, as he stared at his reflection in the river, he felt like he was looking at a stranger. The next morning, he made a decision. He would run away to the city. Amen packed some food and left before sunrise. But he didn't get far. His uncle caught him at the edge of the forest and dragged him back home. His father was furious. "You have shamed me, Amen," he shouted. "You think you are wiser than the ancestors?" His mother looked at him with sadness. He had disappointed them both, but deep inside, he still wasn't sure he was wrong. Desperate for answers, he went to see the village spirit Ile, an old woman known for her wisdom. "Why do I feel this way?" Amen asked. She placed her hand on his chest and said, "Feelings are like shadows. They seem real, but they are not always true. Who you are today is not who you must be forever." Her words confused him at first, but little by little, they started to make sense. To prove he was strong, Amen's father forced him to take part in the village initiation, a test that turned boys into men. Amen didn't want to do it. He was scared, but something inside him told him to try. The test was hard. There was pain, fear, and struggle. But when it was over, Amen felt something strange. Pride, not because he was turning into the warrior his father wanted, but because he had faced his fears and survived. For the first time, he wondered, maybe strength wasn't just about hunting. Maybe it was about facing challenges, even when they scared you. A few months later, Amen's uncle took him to visit the city. He was excited. This was the place where he would finally feel like he belonged. But the city was not what he expected. People were different, but many were still lost, still searching for who they were. Even here, people felt confused, just like he did, and then it hit him. The village wasn't the problem. His father's rules weren't the problem. The problem was his own mind. He had been so focused on what he wasn't that he never stopped to see what he was. After weeks in the city, he found himself missing home. The warm village fires, his mother's weaving, the stories of Baba Madu. Maybe the answer wasn't in running away. Maybe it was in understanding himself. When Amen returned, things felt different. Not because the village had changed, but because he had. He sat with his parents and spoke honestly about everything he had felt. For the first time, his father listened. He didn't say much, but his silence was enough. At the next village festival, Amen danced, not to prove anything, but because he wanted to. The boy who once questioned his place had grown into a young man who understood that identity wasn't something given to you, it was something you discovered for yourself. One evening, he returned to the river where he had once stared at his reflection in doubt. This time, when he looked down, he saw himself clearly, not lost, not confused, but oh, and he smiled.